welcome back to Alaka'i, the podcast. I'm Hadley Wurtz, here with my co-host Eli. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. So today we have a super fun guest with us, Tyler Schmitt. We're going to be talking a little bit about his travels in Japan. Tyler, do you want to introduce yourself?
Of course. I'm Tyler Schmitt, 20 years old. This is my first semester at BYU-Hawaii, and loving it so far. I'm a business management major, hoping to double major in biology, but we'll see how that goes. I got my associates from Snow College, and before that, I'm from Arizona and California, and I was born in Texas, so yeah.
You've been around, dude.
Been around.
Well, you've done a lot, and you've accomplished a lot, and the reason why we have you on here today is to talk about your travel experiences in Japan, and you solo traveled at 20 years old through Japan by yourself, right?
That is correct, yes.
That's awesome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why Japan and kind of your story with that?
Yeah, so when I was 16 years old, I had the opportunity to go. I had made this friend named Riku, and I kind of invited myself into his home, and I was like, hey, can I come and visit? And he said yes, and it was an amazing month. And when I got back, I was like, dang, Japan's awesome. I want to learn the language. And so I took 2 semesters of Japanese as I was a senior in high school, and in the 3 years that followed, I kind of developed, enough fluency to get by. And I really wanted to do something crazy. Kind of COVID, everyone was kind of stuck inside, and I was really I was like, dang, like I've done nothing. Like I've just been working. I have all this like money I've saved up. Like let's send it. And I've always kind of had this desire to go on a crazy bike trip by myself and achieve something. And my goal was 1,000 miles. So I found a route. I found I had to do a ton of self-research and kind of figure out logistically how to make it work, because and my planning was satisfying, but it definitely could have been better. But that was part of the fun, is like kind of rolling with the punches, because it was awesome. But
you're pretty ambitious. I feel like you like to learn, yeah?
Yeah, I like to
That's awesome.
Fail and then learn from it. So
that's awesome. Nice.
When you were getting ready to do this trip, was there anyone telling you, oh, this is not a good idea, or this is gonna be too hard? Was there any opposition that you faced? Yeah, there was actually unfortunately, I wish people had been more supportive and you can do it, Tyler. But I feel like kind of their lack of belief burned my fire even more, and I was like, oh well, now I gotta do it,
because since you don't want me to, I'm going to.
And it was already because I don't think, I'm gonna be honest, out of my family, I think my dad was the only one who genuinely believed that I'd follow through. They all believed that I'd go and that I'd try it, but they didn't really think that I would follow. Yeah, complete it. And granted, there was one day in particular that literally almost broke me mentally, but other than that, it was it really wasn't as bad as it was tough, but that stubbornness, in the back of my mind, that pride, I was like, oh, but if I give up, I'm gonna have to go back with my head down. So I don't know, pride is definitely not the best thing, but it's a good motivator on those hard days. So
believe in yourself and have that faith that you can do hard things.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
When you were out there, what was the route looking like? Was it from top to bottom of Japan, or what was the
so I'm gonna start naming a lot of places.
Okay.
And unless you're Japanese, you're probably not gonna know what I'm talking about, but feel free to pull up Google Maps and follow along. But so just north of Tokyo, it's about an hour train ride, is this city called Nikko, and that's where I started from. So the route that I chose, there's a lot of convenient routes out there, and with the internet you have like a lot of options, but the one I chose is called Length of Japan, and it's actually like the length of Japan, but I chose to kind of segment it and start from about the halfway point. So I went with the kind of with the weather, so I went from north to south, and it was getting colder as I went, so I went into more temperate climate. If I had gone south to north, I wouldn't have been able to complete it because of the initial like through like Nagano and some of those more mountainous areas, the roads get closed because of snow. Gotcha. So I think the closest, like I was reading one of the signs, and it was like the road closed in a couple of days as I was like getting through it, and so I was like, well, like wow. Good timing, like yeah, it really I'm a believer in if things are meant to happen, then they happen, because there was a lot of things that conveniently fell into place. And yeah, so
I wanted to ask you a little bit more. You said there was a time that like you really thought you might not be able to finish it. Kind of with that, what was the most challenging part of the journey altogether for you?
So I think time, I still like vividly remember where I was. So my plan was, and sorry, I didn't really answer that last question super well. So the city's Nikko was the start, Fukuoka, so it's on the southern island. That's where I finished. And so I was about 800 miles in. So at this point I had like done a lot, and I felt pretty fulfilled. There wasn't a lot. I'm in the city of Hiroshima, and I'm like, like I've done so much. Like I took 2 rest days, and on that second rest day I was like, because the Shinkansen, which is the bullet train, that's how I was gonna get back to Tokyo, and I was like, it passed through that city, and I was like, I could literally get on and be hanging out with friends tonight and like eating food, not worrying about biking. Like I could be done, and it was the most tempting thing ever, because I mean, past that there wasn't a lot that I really wanted to see. As far as like in Fukuoka there's some cool stuff, but between Hiroshima and Fukuoka there's like Kitakyushu was, anyways, there's some cool stuff, and I met some cool people, and I'm really glad I did it. But I would say even more than the things I saw and the people I met, it's just knowing that what I set out to do, I accomplished that, and I went all the way, and I didn't do 50%. I didn't give 80%. I said I was gonna do 1,000 miles, and I did roughly 1,000 miles, right? I went all the way, and I was really like, it was worth it. It was definitely worth it, because I know that every time I would have thought back, and I would have been disappointed in myself, and that like, and it still was really hard. That time, that was probably like a couple days, the span of like 3 days, like biking. I remember this other time in that like time frame where I just stopped on this hill, and at this point I have like bruises along my like butt because I've been riding. So
How long had it been at this point?
This is into the 3rd week.
Okay.
And so I took a total of 4 or 5 rest days through wall biking, but other than that I was biking daily. And
like all day.
Wow. And I would bike for 7-ish hours like every day, so it's like a full-time job, and and sitting on a bike seat for that long is like brutal on the butt, and it's actually what hurt most was my butt and my shoulders from being bent like angled over.
And did you have like a pack on it or anything?
So no, all my gear was on my bike.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
When I send in pictures, you can see, but it was not like a light. It was not like light.
You.
I had.
That's a month worth of stuff.
Yeah, I had, so not including me, my bike was about 100 pounds. And like that doesn't, to put things in perspective, like a race bike is like, it's like nothing. It's like I mean I should probably look stuff up, but I want to say it's gonna be like you can get easily below 10 pounds, you know, and it's like light, and I'm like on this like monster, like
wow.
Yeah.
you know, and I'm chugging up these hills every day, and yeah, it was really tough, but yeah, it was worth it, and it was worth it.
I want to say too, there's something to be said about achieving something so difficult that you decided to do on your own at such a young age, and like what that sets you up for in the future I think is super amazing and incredible, because you know you can do something so difficult, but it's even cooler that like you put yourself in that situation to do that for yourself because you wanted to.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
I totally agree. And I also had the opportunity to go to Japan. It was about 4 years ago. I didn't bike it. I don't think I could. I'm not that talented.
That anyone can do anything if they send it.
Yeah, set their mind to it. I remember going to Japan though, and it was more southern Japan, like Osaka, Kyoto, Nara area, and I was just amazed by the beauty of it. When you were there, like, because I'm sure you were tired, you were sweating, you were working really hard. Did you take time to like see the beauty around you?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that kept me going. And I, despite the first week and a half-ish, I had an absurd amount of elevation change every day.
Oh wow.
Essentially how it panned out is each city would be in a valley in between a mountain range. So every day I'd climb for probably the majority of the day, maybe four-ish hours, and then in the last 4 to 5 hours, right, and then in the last like hour to 2 hours I'd drop down and go into the next city, and then I'd eat food and I'd sleep. I always ate lunch. I was eating all the time. You have to like consume a ridiculous amount of food, but no, like the feeling of getting to the top of that mountain, not even just like the sense of achievement, but you are literally like, you can see like everything, and it's just so gorgeous. And there were wild monkeys that lived in the mountains.
That's
so you just see like you just see like monkeys running around, and it was the coolest, like. And so I went in the fall, and it's called koyo, and it's like the color of the leaves.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was like just jaw-dropping, like everywhere. We'd go down some of these. Oh, so I met this Scottish guy that I rode with for like a week.
Cool.
That's like a side note. So my very first part of the journey, I wasn't alone. But I mean, I was like, I did not plan to be with someone, but I just like, we happened to be going in the same direction and wanting to do the same speed. But those mountains were so difficult, but the nature really made it worth it. You just see the most stunning views, and like pictures can only do so much justice. It's a completely different feeling being really just dwarfed by like the grandeur of Mother Nature. There's no feeling quite like that. So
there's probably like such a piece about seeing that stuff too, especially like on your own, and just like there's like a surrealness about it that's incredible.
Yeah, it's literally you, your bike, and like Earth, and there's not really there wasn't really a lot of people. I mean, it was kind of the boonies, like it was awesome, but it was great.
Yeah. Okay, so we've kind of talked a little bit about, like, you told us like what the hardest parts of it were, and I guess the beautiful too, but what was the best part of the trip for you? What was like your absolute most favorite part of the experience, if you can even choose?
I don't think I can choose, but I think what made it special I've already talked about the nature. I've talked about, the achievement. But another thing that made it really amazing was the people. And I really think when you're traveling like that, you meet a different type of people that you normally never meet. And it was really cool to meet. I met, for instance, I stopped at this rest stop, and like as we were, I think we got like hot chocolate, and some like woman came up to us, super nice lady. She was like 26 from Singapore traveling. I happened to run into her. I like walked by her in the next city, and like we went out to dinner and got like steak, and it's just like you don't really have that experience. And then like we talked, right? And it's, you made a new relationship, made a new friend, and I made new friends in like every city that I went to. Another, probably the craziest one is, I met this like older guy, probably like 80 years old, at this bathhouse, and we're just like sitting in the hot tub, like, and we just start like, we talk, right? And he's like, oh, like, Fukuoka, that's where I live.
Wow.
You should like email me when you get to the city. And so as I'm approaching the end of my journey, I like email him, and he's like, yeah, like come and stay with me, like
That's awesome.
I'll like you can stay at my house or at my apartment. And he had the top level of he had a top room in an apartment, and it was like this kind of sweet place, and he like
Nice
fed
view.
me, and he took me around touring, and he was literally like the nicest guy ever. And you just
That's
meet
awesome.
Another cool experience was there was this random old dude, and we were camping like, it's kind of a weird spot. I felt a little awkward because there were these neighborhood houses, and we were kind of camping like on like the side island, and like, yeah, it was like kind of weird. Wasn't really private property. But it was a weird spot. But like, he was like, oh, like that's so cool that you're camping. He wasn't like, I feel like in America, they'd be like, oh, what are you doing here? Get out of here, you bum. Like, but he was like, oh, that's so cool, right? Nicest guy. Comes back 10 minutes later with like fried chicken and like lemonade.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, like, people are just so nice in
People are
Japan,
good.
and they're like the kindest people ever. I had people give me like food. I had one dude just give me like $40, and he was like,
Wow.
yeah, go buy yourself a
So
nice lunch.
nice.
And I'm like, dude, I guess I'm eating good today. Like, it was just awesome. I sat down and talked with this like older couple for a while. You have these opportunities to meet people you normally never would, and it's really, really, really cool. So yeah, those are some of that was one of the things I love most. So
That's special too, because I'm sure you have a lot of those connections still, and like
yeah,
keep in touch
absolutely,
with those people.
absolutely, yeah.
That's awesome.
I think it's so cool with like traveling solo, right? Because obviously, right, people always say, oh, the buddy system's better, and maybe that is true in some aspects, but I feel like traveling solo, you get to really just know who you are. You get to really reminded of like what it is you want from life. But of course, there are still like risks and everything associated with that. So Tyler, for anybody who wants to travel solo across a country that they're not familiar with, what are some tips that you have for them?
I think the biggest thing is do your research. With the internet, you don't have an excuse to say, well, I didn't know this thing or I didn't know that thing, because you have like infinite knowledge at your fingertips. And thankfully I was able to, I spoke Japanese, right? So it wasn't as difficult for me. But I mean, the Scottish guy I biked with did not speak a lick, and
Really?
he was getting along fine just before before I came, right? So I feel like if you are determined and you have that mindset that I can, do anything that I want to, you're gonna find you just gotta really like put in the grind. There's a lot of like Facebook groups, like forums, just all sorts of different stuff, and people, especially if it's a hobby or a passion, people would love to like talk about it. I spent a lot of time at like one of my biggest concerns was actually about bikes, because I didn't really know a lot about it, so I'd spend a ton of time at like bike stores, and if your concern is like, well, I'm a little scared to be, going through this country alone, look into like, well, what are the statistics? Like, what are the safe places? What are the not safe places? Even in Japan, I think there are some places you don't go, mainly only in the big cities, but anywhere else is pretty safe. It's not like, Mexico, any other, like you gotta know the place you're going to, right?
Right.
You don't go to a cartel controlled city in Mexico, right? And just be oblivious to everything, right? You do your research beforehand. I should avoid this place, and that's the thing is, unfortunately, I'm not special, like there are 1,000, 100, 1 million people that have gone to that place before me and done everything that I've done. I'm not the first person to bike Japan. You're not going to be the first person to go travel wherever you're going, and there's going to be someone out there who can help you and give you that, that information that you need to like make your trip successful. And then a lot of it is just like you learn as you live. There's going to be some things that you have to send it, and you'll meet other people that are traveling that can help you, like, start somewhere that you're certain is safe. Ask around, like, gather that intel, if that's what needs to be, like, to happen for that trip to work out, then do it, right? But there's a million different ways you can do anything, and there's a lot of resources that you can take advantage of. So that's my advice.
I love that.
That's great advice.
And you're at the age of 20, so you've got your whole life ahead of you, right, Tyler? So what do you plan to do next? Where do you want to go?
Well, as far as adventures go, I have a couple, like, new other goals and things I want to do. One of my uncles put me onto the idea of, I want to do mountaineering, and I want to do Matterhorn. I think it's Switzerland.
Really?
But he wants to do it, and I'm like, I kind of want to do that too. And
that's really cool.
he's summited, or no, he hasn't summited. He's done base camp of Everest, and so he's a pro. He's done like all the big mountains in America, and then he's also done Kilimanjaro. And I really want to kind of get into that too. I feel like there's no area that you're never, people always will use the excuse, well, I don't know how. Well, you'll never know how unless you start. And I have no idea. Like, I don't know anything about mountaineering. I don't know jack. But it's something I want to know, right? And so I'll end up doing it. That's probably a couple years down the line. As far as bike trips, I'm kind of hooked on it. It was amazing.
Where would you go?
So I really want to do Norway.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Only problem with Norway is it's expensive. It's really expensive, and
some plan and necessary.
Yeah, so that's gonna be, when my salary's a little higher. But I do want to do a Europe tour as well, and I think I want to do more than, because I was in Japan for a month.
Yeah.
I think when I graduate, I'll probably like go off the grid for a while and just kind of roll for a while.
You go big.
Yeah, I
you don't
will.
Do it
go
small.
big or go home.
Well,
that Texas in you.
There's only big things in Texas, you know what they say. Big dreams. But yeah, I mean, and I'm sure I'll get set. This all started from one idea. It was just one thought that I had, and I said, you know, I want to make it happen. And I think it's really tragic when someone has an idea and someone tells them, no, you can't. And because I think that's the most detrimental thing they can do. The first question I ask is how. You know, I have a thought and I say how. Well, how plausible is it? What would need to happen for that to work out? Because I've done enough to know that I can do. Well, I can't grow wings and fly, but I can do anything other than that, right? Mm-hmm. And if I want to do something really badly, I can lay out you just have to lay out all the steps. And obviously sometimes you're not going to know what those steps are, but if you ask the right people and you do the right things, and you can make those steps that you need to get to that goal. And I think goal setting is like a really good skill, and being able to build that like timeline, like, okay, well, I want to climb Matterhorn, so my first thing is I'm gonna go find an easier mountain to climb, right? So my first thing, I'm gonna get the gear, I'll summit this, I can do this solo, it's a smaller mountain, I'll be fine, right? Let's go, and okay, I'm gonna go with my uncle, he's doing the what is it, Mount Whitney, right? Like, I'm gonna go do that one with him, right? I'm gonna get that practice, the expertise that's required, and then I'll be ready, right? I'll be ready. And honestly, I didn't really train that much for this bike trip, because that's the cool thing about biking is it's really low impact.
That's true, yeah. I trained some, and I think the biggest training you need is just sitting on the bike seat, because it hurts so badly at first. But and it hurt the whole time. It never stopped hurting, but it got like to a point where it was manageable, right? Makes it worth it. Yeah, and to where the return was worth it. And it all. Yeah, but like, yeah, I have a million dreams, and I'll unfortunately I can't do them all, right? I don't have infinite money. I don't have infinite time. And you can start somewhere, right? Yeah, but I'll pick and choose, and I'll do what I can as I complete my degree and go into whatever I want to go into. So yeah. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit of your dreams with us and how you accomplished such great big things. I feel inspired. I feel inspired too. I feel like I could accomplish some big stuff. Anyone can. Well, thank you so much. It was such a good time talking to you, and we're so glad you were able to join us. Thank you. I like talking, especially if I can inspire someone else to be the next Japan tripper. That's kind of not a real word, but I think everyone should believe that they can do anything, and I think that's the healthiest mindset someone can have, is to believe in yourself to the point where you're willing to try, because how can you know? Like, literally everyone thought I couldn't, except for me and my dad. Yeah. And I did. And so I don't think you should let and even if you fail, if I had I'd gotten a really bad injury, I tried, right? I did my best, and I gave it literally everything I had. And if you want something bad enough, you'll put in that effort. You'll go for it, but absolutely. You gotta want it. So yeah. Well, thank you so much. We are running out of time, so we're gonna close it up. But thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you, Tyler, for joining us and sharing your experience and being inspiring. And thanks, Eli, for hosting with me. It's good to be here. We'll catch you guys next time on our next episode, and thanks for listening.